Hi, my name is Jim Tremayne. I'm the editor of DJ Times Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to our Digital DJ Expo 2020. Hopefully, this will be the only digital version of the Expo that we'll ever have, because next year, the 2021 show will take place at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City from August 9th to 12th. And today, we are going to do our sort of shopping for DJ equipment seminar, which this year we call Gear, the New Tech and What It Means to You. And we're gonna tackle a few of the newer products that have come out since the NAMM show. Additionally, we'll try to break down some of the different product segments for mobile DJs, club DJs, studio jocks, upstarts, and the like. We're gonna try to get to as many things in a half hour plus as we can. And I'd like to introduce to you guys a couple of esteemed members of this panel. First off, we have Randy White from Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center in Wheaton, Maryland. Randy is a buyer there and a DJ himself. Randy, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. Missing not being in Atlantic City this year, but hopefully 2021, great location. It should be magical.
We're looking forward to it, although you look like you're at Winter Music Conference right now, I got to say.
This and that too.
All right. We also have Wesley Bryant-King here, as DJ Times principal tech reviewer for more than a decade now. And he handles a lot of the pro audio and studio related products. And he is checking in from the beautiful Rocky Mountains in Denver, Colorado. Wes, how you doing?
Good. And yeah, we're living up to it. It's winter, snow, and I don't know, it's in the 20s or something here at the moment. So right. Yeah.
It's never a bad day in Denver.
That is true.
That is, and I see that you're in your studio, which you have outfitted and built yourself.
Indeed, I am. So yeah. Good location for our conversation today. Although It is DJ specific rather than all this good stuff.
Well, we'll get into a little bit of the studio stuff because I know that this year you have really dove into a lot of the newer studio products. So we'll talk about that. But first of all, I just want to throw it out there. How have you guys handled 2020 here? I live in New York City, and I think everybody knows what an odd and strange and sort of tragic year it was here. I finally got the sound of ambulance sirens going off out of my head, but it's been an interesting year and it's been tough, but the magazine has soldiered on and we've done the best we can to keep all the content going out there to all the DJs. Randy, I want to ask you how it's been for you and also how it's been for Washington Music.
It's been interesting. It's a lot more work because we're checking temperatures, people come in and, and disinfecting their hands. But what's been amazing is people are happy to get out, to come and play on the gear, ask questions. There's been some people investing. We've seen a lot of activity in streaming, people, gobos, little things that they can add as additional add-on sales. And there are people buying speakers and preparing for some winter gigs, spring, hoping that next year is going to be different, where a lot of their gigs were moved to 2021.
Right, and we'll get into some of the specific segments in a little bit. How long were you guys open the entire time, or how did it work?
No, we were closed until probably late June.
Okay.
So we were working remotely, and we have mail order, and then we opened back up, and then Maryland allowed us to start letting people in July. Okay. And so we've had people in since July.
And I know that I've been to your store a few times, and I know that you're a very valuable resource for a lot of DJs. You do a lot of consultation with a lot of DJs and really recommend products to them and directions they should go. I would imagine that the DJs that you do a lot of work with and a lot of business with stayed in touch with you and asked for your expertise.
There were several that were just freaking out because that's their whole business. That's everything. They don't have day jobs. So they're really like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? The first thing I was like, are you doing streaming? Are you offering that added value that, there's going to be families that now, if you have outside weddings, inside weddings that have a limited number of people that can actually go to the wedding, that you can stream and include them in it, virtual toasts, you can rent out your screens, projectors, those sort of things. So we started building, streaming systems, cameras, video switchers, all of those things. We had to get into high gear to start adding those. And then there was other add-on things that people had to start thinking about. Is like, well, how do I do a toast, with a microphone to be,
Right.
touching it? What ideas do you have? And so all those things we had to kind of think out for people, and it's been a challenge, but there are people they're praying for the future and investing for the future.
Right. Wes, I want to ask you how it's been. I know that you are gainfully employed outside of the DJ industry as well. I'm assuming you got through that all right this year. I know you've had some interesting times on that end, but I know we've been sending you plenty of products to review.
Yeah, it's it's been an interesting year for all of us, and Randy brings a good point. I do have a day job. I'm in the tech industry, and so as a mobile DJ myself, it isn't my sole source of income. And yeah, it's been an interesting year. Everything that I normally do, and I don't normally do huge volumes of mobile gigs, but certainly this year it's been a big fat zero, and people deferring things. I usually do a few weddings a year and the like, and it's just been absolutely nothing. Not being kind of my bread and butter, the stuff that Randy was talking about isn't something that I personally would be ready to invest in to kind of keep things going. So for me, it's just sort of wait until this, finally blows over whenever it does. But thankfully, I've managed to stay on a personal level. I've managed to stay employed. So that's a good thing. And yeah, there's been a lot of stuff happening. It just seems like, people, manufacturers have the pipeline filled up. Announced all their stuff at NAMM, and as usual, it trickled out. It was actually, I think, kind of interesting this year because I don't know what Randy has seen on the retail side, but certainly from a review perspective, I'm used to seeing all this new stuff at NAMM, and then it sort of trickles out over the course of the year. And this year, it just all sort of, dropped from the sky all at once.
Yeah.
And that started to happen even before COVID set in. But it's been kind of an interesting year about how the companies have rolled it out.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of the specific companies in a minute. But yeah, this year, a lot of the products that you saw at NAMM were actually delivering at that time, which was rare, to be honest. A lot of times you got to wait until the next quarter at the very least. So I want to get into what types of products have been moving at retail. During the summer, we did a video series where I interviewed a lot of manufacturers and distributors. And many of them told me that the studio-oriented products and the products related to podcasting and live streaming were the ones that really seemed to be doing well. There was a sort of a collective freak out going on at the end of the spring and the beginning of the summer. Randy, for the retailers, is that what you saw?
The numbers for most of those recording companies are record numbers. It's because you had all these musicians and podcasting people that were at home. So they had all extra free time. So Yamaha, Personas,
IK
Multimedia. I mean, that's a monster now. I mean, they went from just being like, a little average company to a superstar all of a sudden. SSL, the 2+ that, that Wes has. So this is some of the greatest product out there that nobody can get. The back orders, let's say Yamaha HS8s, the back orders started in July, are just coming out in November, December. So the numbers are through the roof. USB microphones, studio monitors, sound cards, IK Multimedia, all of it was just out of control. And it still isn't, it hasn't caught up yet. And because there's so many people working from home and working on projects and things, it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Right. And as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And what happened is a lot of people felt the need to live stream to keep their brand alive, to get their music out there if they were creating music, but also podcasts were a way to get your voice out there as well. And a lot of people started doing that this year. Were some of your clients telling you these things, that that was a way to keep their brand going?
Well, we have a separate podcast site that we had set prior to COVID. And so that went crazy. And I have a number of DJs that were streaming on Facebook Live, including Jazzy Jeff and some other people that have, and that's a whole nother thing that we can't really get into now. But one in particular started streaming, and his first night he looked up and his son goes, "Hey Dad, you got 60,000 people watching you play right now." Now, when everything is said and done, he's in Baltimore. He's generated almost $2 million in donations. Baltimore Food Bank. His streams are over 15 million. So
Right.
he's created a whole nother thing that he turned it into charity. You know, took something really negative and turned it into a major positive. But it's about the streaming,
Right.
his DJing, branding, all that.
Yeah, and you know, the classic story of 2020 is that of D Nice, who's a former rapper from New York City who lives in LA, and pretty much the week that COVID kind of broke out and the lockdown began, his live streams just went crazy, exponential, and he had all of these superstars and big politicos, you know, from Michelle Obama to, I guess, our new president-elect. They all checked in on him, and his brand went through the roof. Got him on the cover of DJ Times, that's for sure. So, Wes, I want to ask you a little bit about that too. How easy is it for a DJ to get started streaming? What do you need?
Oh boy, I'll ask Randy to chime in a little bit here too. It's you know, it's a lot of different pieces of it.
There's some free software.
Yeah, true, and it depends on how you really want to go about doing it. You know, in the past anyway, I know like Tractor, for example, has some built-in streaming capabilities, but it isn't suited for things like Facebook Live and Instagram and this kind of stuff. Today, it's really designed for a specific type of streaming technology that probably made sense when they dropped it in. It's really the same technology that they use for internet radio stations. So it doesn't really lend itself, I don't think, to what we think of today as kind of modern DJ streaming, so to speak. Randy, you probably know even more about this than I do. I was just thinking though, back to podcasting very briefly before I have Randy talk a little bit about it. You know, it's funny at NAMM, I remember you and I were you know, going around place to place, and a lot of folks, I remember Audio Technica, for example, and Shure, and a lot of these folks were talking about their podcasting this, podcasting that. And it was a little hard for me to see at the time, you know, the applicability to a lot of the DJs, right? I mean, certainly, you know, podcasting, great, I get it, but it didn't really click. And then, you know, reality sets in, and suddenly, you know, it really is a thing. I wish I'd kind of had the foresight to look a little closer at that at the time.
Too.
But you know, hindsight's 2020. But you know, how are guys doing it or how are you helping people put the stuff together, Randy? I mean, from you know, the audio output of you know, one of the new, you know, Prime 2 controllers or the XDJ XZ, you know, what are you doing to patch it out and ultimately get it to something like Facebook Live? Is it the IK stuff through an iPhone, or?
No, they can do it directly. I mean, most of them are doing it through their phone. And some of them are just, you know, they're just plugging right out of the USB. Some are doing IK multimedia. Some buy a little Mackie, little Yamaha mixer and using that for the audio source. They're going up to Twitch. They're going up to software OBS. They're going up, and there's also companies out there that will take your feed and they will feed Facebook Live and YouTube Live and all those companies simultaneously, and they'll monitor it. If you get knocked off, they'll put you back up. So there's a lot of different options that are going on. There's just the legal issues are what's the battle right now, the music licensing battles.
So let me get back to NAMM real quick. I want to do a quick rundown on some of the products that we saw, and I know Randy saw out in Anaheim this past January. I know Wes was very excited about some of the Denon products, and Denon DJ, which is an in-music company and an in-music brand, seems to be really pushing the envelope a lot technologically these days. But the Denon Prime Go was something that really got your attention, wasn't it, Wes? Give the audience out there an idea.
I loved it. So it is, it's a simple but very capable controller. It's battery powered, hence Go. The battery lasts, I don't remember, I'd have to look back at my review as to how long that battery lasts, but it's certainly long enough to do a good lengthy set. And nothing that you need with that. But other than that, it has the same capabilities that they've been building into the rest of the Prime series, which is, part of what excites me. Not only do they have support for all the different types of media, things that you put on USB keys or external drives, or SD cards or whatever. Some of the Prime controllers actually have drive bays in it so that you can install these high capacity drives to put your music library on. But I think what it really has resonated for all of those, including the Go specifically, is the ability to do the live streaming in addition to everything else. So you have all your local stuff, and those of us like me who do weddings, you know, I've got my usual collection of stuff that I carry around. But you know, invariably somebody is going to come up in a wedding party and request something I didn't think of, and you know, it's great to be able to load up Tidal or something like that. As long as you have an internet connection, there's the key. But
Right.
you know, it's like the ultimate music collection. I can have all my core stuff and no internet connection required. But if I do get that kind of oddball request, you know, there's, you know, pretty much the world of music out there for me to go grab whatever I need on the fly. The Go in particular just made that compact, battery powered, and but still as powerful as the rest of the Prime series. So I was really pretty crazy about that one in particular.
Randy, did that get your attention as well?
Yeah, I just, you know, I thought it's a great little cute piece. It plays well. You know, the fact that they were able to roll it out with virtual DJ, it reads record box thumb drives. It reads, you know, you could use it with anything. So it's very capable.
But the other thing too, Randy, that I really like about it that I think sets apart some of the stuff that Denon DJ is doing is the fact that you don't have to pre-process your music. I can throw music at it on a USB key, and it'll do the beat
and
analysis,
it reads it. Yep.
analysis, on the fly, which I thought
it's
was
the
really
only
cool.
one that does that, because you know,
Yep.
you put in Pioneer and it goes no.
Yeah.
And even with the, you know, and it would read anything. I had a customer come in, had an SSD drive, and he goes, you know, he had record box and it still wouldn't read it on one of the machines. Put it in and into the Prime Go, automatic.
Yep.
Waveforms, everything.
Let's get a little bit more into the Prime series. I know, Wes, you were one of the first reviewers to dive in a couple of years ago. You also played, I think, with the SC6000 as well.
Yeah.
Give the viewers an idea of the Prime series and the advantages that it affords DJs.
So they're using that Prime name for a lot of different things. And what's interesting about it is the firmware, the actual software that runs all of it is really very much in common from what the product folks at, in music have told me, with the possible exception of the mixers. The mixers do have software on them too, but it's a little different ballgame. But when you talk about the SC5000, the original one, and the 6000 that they just came out with, you know, we're talking about a, you know, classic, I still tend to call them generically CDJ, probably doesn't make Pioneer very happy, but,
Right.
you know, media players, let's call them that, right?
Sure.
So lots of inputs for everything that you want to do, sort of like Pioneer did too. They've got their own networking technology so that if you're using a Prime mixer and the Prime media players, that can all network together to share information and share color coding and configuration and music sources back and forth and everything else. So they've created this ecosystem. But then there are the all-in-one controllers. And so that's the Prime 2, the Prime 4, and the Prime Go that we were just talking about. You know, it's sort of like small, medium, and large, right, in a sense, in terms of their capabilities. But what they've done that I think is really cool is they've built this whole infrastructure and these capabilities across the board. So even the old SC5000s that I have, you know, from back in the day, they didn't even talk about any of the networking stuff when that stuff was released. And then they update this firmware and suddenly it has the ability to do everything else that their whole ecosystem, their engine is what I'm trying to say. They've been referring to it as Engine OS, engine operating system that runs all of it. And it's been interesting to see how they've made that really slick and kept everything up to date and kind of backward compatible with stuff you already own.
And Randy, where do you see the Denon DJ and the Prime series specifically in the market? How much of a dent has it made in your world?
I mean, Pioneer still has the lion's share, I would say, and they probably will continue. But slowly but surely, there's, you know, 5%, 10%. They're going to keep, you know, eating away at it until they finally get one that breaks through. You know, Prime is great. Prime 2 is good. The 4 is great, but you know, how many guys are using thumb drives or external drives? You have a smaller market part of it. So I think they're sort of figuring it out. And then they're going to continue to have product separation between their now 4 brands. So, you know, the rumor on the street right now is that there's a Rain 12 all-in-one coming. So basically take, you know, like an NS7 4, but in the Rain world, you know, and that will also run standalone or with Serato or with Virtual DJ.
Right.
So it'll use that same, it'll have that same engine in it.
Okay. Well, not to make this an entirely in music
Yeah.
seminar, but they do have just almost countless brands at this point. You mentioned Rain. They had a 72 Mark II, I believe. And then also Newmark had a couple of mix tracks coming out, I think, in the last year. How has Newmark kept up with the business, Randy?
They're not getting their fair share of that, you know, because they didn't really offer anything that's really that different than what was already out before. You know, Pioneer still, it's amazing that they can take and throw a piece out there. During the middle of the pandemic, the DDJ 400 was like the hottest control in the country for record box, and nobody knew why. Somebody reviewed it and said, oh, this is the hot one. And boom, it was like, I mean, we're talking 3 months of back orders for a piece that they had sold next to none prior to the lockdown. So somebody made an incredible review that kicked it off, that everybody had to have record box, even though the SB3 is the same thing with Serato. They're like, no, I need the 400. Okay. So
well, it does have a good brand name, doesn't it?
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, and what's different with Pioneer versus Denon is you get that entry level customer, you know, SB3 400, and next they're a 1000 SRT, and then they graduate within the product line. They have a lot of loyalty that goes in there, just like, you know, somebody that had a DJM 450 or a 900 Nexus 2, and then they got an S9. Oh, that's the greatest ever. And then S11, those are the same guys that sold S9s to get their S11s.
Right.
A Rain guy is a Rain guy, a Pioneer guy is a Pioneer guy, and most of the time they don't flip teams, they don't change teams.
Right. And we find that with software as well. But getting back into Pioneer, the XDJ XZ did pretty well with you, I would imagine.
No,
Not as well? No?
No, it's a price point thing.
Okay.
You know, it's the amount of investment and its physical size. You know, they don't want to carry the monsters anymore. That SZ2s, all those things have started to die because DJs don't want to break their backs anymore. They want to get something that's really portable, high performance, like, you know, the 1000 SRT is probably the greatest controller that they've ever dropped.
So let's move into the big product that they dropped this summer, which was the CDJ 3000. Wes has a unit. They finally got us a review unit, which I think you've been tinkering with. First impressions?
I like it, you know, and speaking of that XDJ XZ controller, yeah, an absolute monster. Randy is right. But, you know, what I've noticed about that and the CDJ 3000 is it seems like Pioneer is I don't want to be too harsh, but it feels almost in a way like they're getting their act together with the software. You know, again, I work for an IT company during the day. So for me, you know, I'm the propeller head, right? I like the software. I pay attention to what's going on and how it's kind of coming together. And it seems like they're making some real improvements with it. But the thing that I've always really liked about Pioneer, I think what a lot of people like about Pioneer, you know, the software does its job and, you know, it meets the specs that they talk about. It's the feel, right? It's the way the thing is actually built, how it feels, how the controls work,
The layout.
Yeah, and the layout, and just, you know, even stuff like how the platters feel on the CDJ 3000. You know, it's like nothing else quite feels that way. And that's not to say that there isn't other really good stuff. It's just, you know, Pioneer has a certain feel to it. At least that's been my experience.
And Randy, I know you had mentioned a couple of issues that they're going to have to address.
Yeah, the CDJ 3000 isn't ready for Serato DJ Pro out of the box, so the HID doesn't work. You have no way to use it with it currently. I think that's a timing thing because they did not intend for that 3000 to drop yet. They still had 2000s on the water, and I think that they had to pull the trigger early because somebody leaked it. There were pictures everywhere. That's the thing now, is that people get, you know, they get access to the demos, and somebody magically just shows up, and then they're like, and because they didn't even know it was out there, and I go, hey, my DJs are sending me this. What is this? I don't know anything about it. They think I already know. I don't know. And I'd send it, and they go, oh no. And so I think it pulled that piece out 30 days, 45 days earlier than they really wanted to show it.
Okay.
Same thing on the S11. I think that they got it 2 weeks. I think they pushed it up 2 weeks because the mixer leaked.
So Randy, for the DJs, give if they don't know already, what are the advantages that the CDJ 3000 give them? Now it's going to be sort of an upper scale DJ and a club DJ that we're talking about for the most part, right? But what are the advantages that we see?
I mean, the only thing we only got to play with it a little bit. I mean, I think the touch screen, some of the other looping capabilities, the platter feels better. It's, but I haven't got a chance to really dig into it a lot. It just looks like it's an improvement of the 2000, which I've loved, so.
Industry standard.
Yeah.
Okay, and the S11, the DJM S11?
S11 upgraded fader, the ability to be able to run 4 decks and be able to, transfer tracks to other decks right on the mixer, upgraded effects with smooth echo. It's just, it's a nice upgrade. The other piece was, they needed to come back. They had been working, what's funny is that the Rain guys against the Pioneer guys, but Pioneer had been working on this mixer a long time. And they had some of the key guys, Jeff and a couple of other people worked on it behind the scenes, giving them ideas what effects wise things that they needed to do. Right.
And I guess we should expect a few more things from Pioneer in the near future as well.
They're always working on something. I think that they're still trying to figure out, what other areas that they want to go into. I'm sure they'll keep dropping controllers, monitors, that sort of thing. I'd be really surprised if they didn't get into the streaming game and really come out with their own version of that. That would be like the next
way to go. Yeah. Don't want to spend too much time on this, but I know that Wes is a big Tractor user. In your humble opinions, what do you think is going to happen with Native Instruments?
Oh boy!
I'll start. I'll start with you, Randy. I know it's an unfair question, but
I don't know.
I mean, they still have a base of users out there. They just seem to not have the willingness or money or whatever it is to do all the updates they need to make or the new products.
As a retailer, I punted on it, so I made a decision that
that's the hardware. Yeah.
I just I'm not even going to mess with it anymore. I stopped ordering it about 3 or 4 months ago because as they started to scale down staff, the lack of support was there when you had the support from before.
Saw the writing on the wall. Yeah.
But then the thing is that they're, on the machine side, on the recording side, they are still plugging away. So I'm not really sure why they have decided, if they had gone into video mixing, which is what a lot of those guys were asking for, and they'd hack it and get it to work with Mix Emergency and stuff like that to get it, there's nothing probably better than Tractor for running video than any of the companies. I mean, you just imagine how amazing it would be with that, and being able to beat grid your videos and all that other stuff. There's so much upward potential that they just never, I think they went so hard into stems, and when it didn't happen and they made hardware to go with it, it just kind of fizzled out, and they're like, okay, well, this is kind of done, when really they need an infusion of cash. They need a company that's really dedicated behind it. And there's definitely some guys there that bounced the Serato from Tractor that would probably come back.
Right. And lots of rumors out there about companies that are interested. So we've all read those. Wes, I'm not going to ask you to do an autopsy on Tractor, but just for the DJs out there, what advantages does Tractor give you that the other platforms don't?
Well, it's interesting as Randy was talking to, that they went off in this whole stems track, but that didn't jazz me personally with the style of stuff that I have done in the past. Mm-hmm. It certainly doesn't interest me much in terms of the, being a mobile guy. But, the things that I've always really liked about Tractor that I think it's done really well, first off, it looks great. It has, in my personal opinion anyway, the best user interface, the best UI, the best user experience design of any of them. And I think it just blows some of the rest of this stuff out of the water. But, I think at least in North America, I'm definitely a minority. It was sort of, as Randy was saying, you buy into pioneering and you tend to stick with it. It happened to be the first thing that I used when I got started DJing, and it just stuck. But these days, I don't know. I have not done club work in a long time, so a lot of what I have in it and what I liked about it was really, I think, more suited for the club. I got to be honest, these days, as much as I love Tractor, I just go for an all-in-one unit, a Prime unit or something like that, and just play stuff from solid state storage, and carry around my library that way. So I don't know.
Okay. When we do this seminar in Atlantic City, we always ask the audience to raise their hand and tell us which platform they're using. We'll say Tractor, we'll say Serato, Rekordbox, etc. And I'm always surprised and almost astonished at how many of the DJs, a lot of the mobile DJs, still use virtual DJ.
They love it.
They really do. Randy, talk a little bit about virtual DJ and where you see that future.
Well, it's really what they want to do. Are they going to be committed to, building those relationships with the pioneers? Are they going to have an entry-level version for guys to get in and start from the beginning, not having to pay for the full-blown $200? Have an entry-level version that's out there like they used to do. They were so heavy into the stems and really trying to be a pro controller, pro control software, that really they needed to also have that LE version that works with everything. And then they'll get the loyalty. They'll get it back. They were the first ones that were able to drop video, drop karaoke, everything all in one software. I think they just need an infusion of cash or another company, somebody behind them to push them. And I think they can take a big chunk away from Serato. They might finish off, Native Instruments too at the same time, just because of some of the things that they're doing.
All right, venture capitalists, it's a virtual DJ, y'all.
Well, in music ought to buy. I was going to say, don't you think in music ought to buy them and Native and just own the whole?
Don't give them any more ideas.
Yeah,
right?
Don't give them any more ideas. Yeah, no. I don't think they can.
Well.
I don't think they can manage all those things, because it's like having 4 stepkids and all of them want to do something different, and they're all in different worlds, and somebody always gets neglected. Like right now, I think Newmark is the one that's kind of sitting down, because they're trying to, they're working on Stanton behind the scenes. Right. And the Stanton story is a whole nother thing, because Jack O'Donnell, the owner of
started at Stanton.
Well, yeah, but he's married to Harry Stanton's wife.
Yeah, exactly.
daughter. So there's he's been waiting 20 years to get that company under his. So,
yes,
so there's a whole thing, but I think it's great that I think with that In Music is dedicated to the DJ business probably more than anybody else. I mean, they have invested a lot in it, and they're continuing to plug along.
Cool. I want to move into Pro Audio PA. Randy, real quick, what have you seen this year? New PAs for mobile DJs, things that got your attention. I know NAMM had a few things out there. There was a new Electro voice. I think it was the Evolve 30M, which was like a smaller version of the 50. What else did you see out there?
Well, what's going on right now is all battery operated stuff is insane. Right. I built a whole display just for battery stuff. I think I have probably 8 battery units, from entry level from American Audio, like an APX12, all the way up to a Maui 5 Go. JBL Eon 1 Compact was introduced, which gives you 13 hours with a hot swappable battery. So there's a lot of really good product out there battery wise. So you could go out and do a gig and take your Denon Prime Go, 2 Eon 1 compacts. Sennheiser's got a battery wireless, and you don't have to plug a thing in, and you can do some pretty good size areas with something like that.
I know Wes played with the I think it was the Bose S1, and that seems to have had a lot of imitators.
That started it. Yeah, that started off. But that's what Bose does. They come out and they bring out stuff, and they're the father of all column arrays.
Yep.
And so now they just launched their brand new series, trying to get some of that back. I think it's too late. I mean, Evie's in deep. There's HK Audio's getting a little piece of that. JBL's in there. I mean, they're all fighting for the same
dollar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there were some other interesting ones I saw at NAMM. That Renkus Hines had something interesting. It was a little more upscale, I think, but it also is a line array series, which seems to be the big trend. I know QSC had a sub. I think it was a KS 118.
118 cardio sub, yes.
Right. Anything else on the PA front that we should be looking for?
I mean, it's all bigger stuff. I mean, Yorkville EF 215. It's a double 15 with a large horn. Double 21 that came out from them. Nothing else really from QSC. EV had a new monitor and the Evolve 30. That's pretty much the majority of it. I think there were more speakers that would have debuted around Expo time and Infocom time that just ended up being pushed back. So we probably won't see them till next summer.
Right. Let's move into lighting really quickly. I know one of the products that really caught Wes's eye at the NAMM show in Anaheim was the Chauvet DJ product. It was called the Gig Bar Move, which I think was a LED lighting setup for mobiles. Wes, you want to? Oh, my lights have gone out. Look at this. I need a Gig Bar Move, y'all. Let's go.
I just liked it. You know, I'm still old school and using some of the stuff that I got early on. So for me, you know, going out and setting up, you know, I've got stands and individual lights and everything's got to be hung and bolted down and everything else. And it's really overkill for a lot of types of gigs that I probably could get away with something significantly more compact. And that's really what I loved about that Gig Bar Move. It's really impressive for a start, the lighting that it puts on, but it's compact, it's easy to set up. I think the price is right. You know, and when I start doing some gigs again, you know, that or something like that, I think has got to be on my must buy list. What have you seen of that one, Randy?
No, it's been, you know, it's unfortunate because it really launched right at the beginning of when COVID hit. So, yeah. I mean, even the ones that I ordered like got stuck. So we weren't able to get ours until probably July or August because we were closed. But it's been a strong product. You know, the moving heads are not super bright, but to have that much built into one little thing, easy to set up, great controller. It gives you a nice little show without any work. You know, high durability. So, I mean, Chauvet's always been in the forefront of all of that. They're usually the first one to break that out. They just announced the wash effects, and the wash effects 2 have been big because they're just color washes that are really, really bright, very, very small. Somebody could go and put that on a single stand and cover a wide area with just one single light or a couple of them. So now they just came out with a hex version. So it'll have UV black light. It'll have all the colors and the spectrum all in this light that's, I think it's around $200, and it's very bright.
Also want to talk a little or ask you a little bit about anything from ADJ that you saw. I noticed that NAMM, they had a very cool magnetic dance floor, LED dance floor for a lot of mobile DJs.
I think that's eventually that will come back. In fact, I just set up ours. I'll have to shoot you a video. I just set it up on the middle of my showroom. And I was like, you know what? I got this thing sitting here. I better do something with it. And it's, you know, it's a lot of interest has come in. Very easy to set up. It's all magnetic. All the DMX and the power runs magnetically. So you don't have all these crazy cables and things running around. It'll handle, I want to say it's 300 or 400 pounds per panel. So you got a great deal of weight that'll handle, and it's expandable. And so I think that'll end up eventually being a good piece for them.
Cool. I want to move into studio-oriented products. I know a lot of that has really gotten a lot of attention over the summer. We are still doing a series on djtimes.com called Life in Lockdown, which is all about DJ producers, you know, hunkering down and making music and discussing how they've spent their lockdown creatively. Wes, I know you saw some products that you really liked at NAMM. I know the Waves Audio Ovox was one.
Yeah.
You want to give a little rundown on some of the studio-oriented products? I know that Presonus came out with a lot of very interesting things this year.
Presonus, and I think I've looked at some of that over the course of the year too for the magazine. One, Randy, I think mentioned earlier on is this little guy from SSL, Solid State Logic, out of the UK. This is the 2 Plus. I reviewed this for the magazine not long ago. Incredible little audio interface. Randy was telling us before we started that's been a really hot item for him.
And affordable.
And affordable.
Right.
Sounds great. Affordable. Yeah. Go ahead, Randy.
No, obviously that's really one of the hottest ones, but it's really all the sound cards. And there's some, entry level from Behringer, Focusrite, I mean, you name it, Personas, all of them. It's been really, but what's great is there's tons of options out there for decent product. And depending on the level of investment, you've got choices from $99 to, UA that you could spend several thousand, but you've got choices.
Yeah. And
Okay,
it's other stuff from NAMM.
Yeah.
You probably, some of the Wave stuff. I saw Ovox, a really impressive plugin for kind of bringing the voice synthesis stuff into your DAW. I saw a couple of different things to convert singing basically to MIDI, so that if you don't know how to play a keyboard, you don't know how to play a guitar or something like that, you have a way to sort of program MIDI and turn that into a synthesizer. I don't know where some of that stuff kind of went after NAMM. Hopefully I'll be able to review some of that. I thought that was kind of cool for a lot of DJs who want to kind of ride the fence. As I said, may not, be classically trained or something like that, or know how to play keys.
You're talking
it's a
about
great way to go about doing it.
Was it Doubler from Vocally Music?
Yeah. Doubler, and there was
What's
another one that
one
I
in the
saw
basement downstairs in NAMM. It was down
yeah,
there.
Yeah. And that was a UK kind of an integrated solution. There was another one, and I don't remember. They were upstairs in the main hall in one of the small booths that's working on some stuff too. And I do have some preview versions of that. When they get a little closer to release, I'll be able to hopefully review that for the magazine. But impressive technology. I mean, even Ableton Live has been doing some of that stuff. It's just frankly not ready for prime time. It's not that useful from a production standpoint, at least in my experimentation. So I think that holds a lot of promise. May not quite be there yet.
That one, I can't think of the name of the company, but I know that they were in the basement at NAMM, and that company got started. That's a Kickstarter. It's how they got their original funding. And then what it is, that's the way that Timberland, that's how he writes records. He can't play a note on the keyboard. He'll do a tone, he'll do his own drum beats and things with his mouth. And then the producer, the person he's working with, has to interpret it, or he'll actually use those sounds. And some of those hits are actually his mouth creating those sounds. So what this does is that he can sit there and say, you know what, I want my kick drum to kind of sound like this. Well, that software will interpret what you are thinking, and it's pretty amazing. It's really, so guys that want to, do their own remixes and edits and things, but you don't really know music, you have a keyboard, but you can't play a chord. You really don't have to in something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some mind-blowing technology and something we can look forward to in the future. So we've blazed through 40 minutes. We're going to wrap this up very soon. But before we do, I want to kind of get you guys looking into the crystal ball a little bit and seeing what the near future looks like. I know that we got some interesting news this morning about a potential vaccine for this pandemic. And hopefully 2021 will open up a little bit for us. Randy, what are you looking for in 2021 besides the idea of going to a restaurant or a bar again?
You know what? I mean, just getting all of our DJs back to work, some of them beyond the fact of just it's their living, they love it. It's in their blood. And then, sitting at home, not being able to work and those things. So I'm looking forward to that. There's a lot of new product that really got pushed back. So with no January NAMM, it's pushed back even further. So hopefully if everything works out, I think Expo will be a monster because all those companies, ADJ, Chevet, EV, EV's, I bet they'll have another Evolve ready by that. So they're going to drop that. That could be probably for the first time one of the biggest shows ever that you're going to be able to walk in and go, all this new stuff, because that's really what the old days was. Right. We would go there and it'd be all this brand new product. Last year was DDJ 1000 SRT. I had that in my booth and it was the greatest launch I've ever seen. Right. Previous to that was the S9. So there's something special about if you can bring that to market at that show and pray it doesn't leak and launch it at that show, you get so many impressions. The social media will be nuts. And, a company can get $1 million worth of advertising overnight just by
launching
it right. Yeah.
Right. And how do you see gear being tailored for the new realities? I mean, live streaming, podcasting, obviously there's a lot of products out there, but do you see a lot of companies jumping into that?
It's too late. If you're not in it, it's too late, because these other certain companies have, like SSL, those companies, they're built for that. And the thing is they weren't even able to keep up what the demand is, and the demand hasn't stopped. It is not stopped. I mean, it's going to probably be until spring till a lot of the companies catch up completely. And I think it's going to be part of the new norm. I mean, people want to make music. They want to DJ from home. They want to stream, all these things that they wanted to do before, but they didn't have time. You're running around in regular life. You just didn't have time, day jobs or whatever. Well, when you're stuck at home, all of a sudden, you know what? Let me work on my music. Let me work on my software. Let me write these songs. Let me do my DJ drops. All these things that they never could get to. Now, all of a sudden, they're like, okay, I got the time. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to redo my lights. I'm going to work on my DMX programming. All these things are, so hopefully on the backside of it, they're going to be able to take the next level, in their,
Right. And I know a lot of the DJ producers are hanging on to a lot of their tracks, and they're waiting until the clubs open up again and the festivals open up again.
Yep.
That's going to be exciting for 2021. Wes, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I'm sort of an eternal optimist. So, I am extremely optimistic about 2021. The vaccine news that we got here today as we're recording this was, that was fantastic. Hopefully it's true. It was in a press release, not a peer-reviewed journal. So we'll
give them time.
See.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll see what the reality is, right? But that is reason for optimism. And I am optimistic that people will get back to work. For my own gigs, a lot of stuff's just been deferred. So, I'm kind of looking forward to it when we're all able and willing and everything to get back out. For me, there's going to be a lot of side work to do in addition to my day job, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I'm optimistic about it. Hopefully we'll get there sooner and not later.
Yeah, and DJ Times is very bullish about it as well. I mean, anybody who's seen the new Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City is psyched about it. It really offers a lot of great opportunities for DJ Expo, and we're looking forward to it. Once again, it's going to be August 9th through 12th, Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time and doing this with us. We look forward to seeing you guys in person again. And once again, thanks so much for supporting DJ Expo, even the digital version.
Yep.
We'll see you.
All right.
Great. Thanks, Jim.
All righty.